Let's get this started. Right, shalom, shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and honors to you brothers out there on the highways and the byways, teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. And shalom to you brothers out there that's listening and learning and supporting the ministry, and to the sisters as well. And this video is going to be a response to a statement which was made by Nathaniel of IUIC in regards to the mark of the beast, which we here at Great Millstone, we firmly believe that the mark of the beast is the implantable RFID chip, which is going to be needed, alright, to buy and sell in the near future. It's going to be a necessity. It's going to be mandated by your particular state or government that you are identifiable and you are incorporated into the Internet of Things in order for you to receive goods and services through the authority of the state. Okay, the infrastructure is already being set up. They're already breaking the people into it, making it something which is out there. You know, you got these what they call it, biohackers. These biohackers, they're into it, and more now it's entering into the business world through certain companies in Sweden and America, who are giving their employees the option of being chipped. You know, you already got certain health patients and so forth that have already received the chip. So it's the idea of people being chipped is out there, is out there in the atmosphere, so to speak. But it's not mandated yet. And I'm pretty sure if you know, the average person, if you ask them whether they would be chipped, you know, right now, right here and now, they're not going to want to be chipped just like that. Obviously, because that's, you know, that's something to most people that still, most people don't want to have tattoos, you know. It's something that, you know, most people don't even like needles. Do you know what I mean? They avoid needles if they can. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a thing where when they mandate that mark of the beast, they gonna have a crisis behind it. That's how you get things done. So let me pull this up for you. What did I do? Okay, cut to it. Alright, beautiful. This is the video here when Nate and his men made a complete fool of themselves concerning the mark of the beast. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the first seconds of this. Okay. In fact, let me just double check. Hey, shalom, Mark. GMS other one Hawad. Hey, brother, is the audio and the video coming through clear? I just want to make sure before I move on. I didn't really want to make this live stream too long. I just want to make the point, bring out some history, and then get out of here. In fact, let me just test it this way. I'm going to get a bit of feedback, but alright, that sounds alright. Okay, no worries. It seems like it's alright. It's running okay. Let me play this video then.
Imagine if they say, well, now we're going to put a RFID chip in your right hand or your forehead. You know what kind of uproar it'd be out throughout the country? And the scripture says that no man, because that's where they go, no man can buy or sell
Right. So basically, he's basically saying, for instance, let's take today's date, the 7th, the 31st of the 7th, 2017. Okay. If they came out on the news today in England and said everyone has to be chipped or you're not going to be able to buy or sell, obviously that's going to be too much. Okay. People are going to go mad. They're going to go crazy. Like, this is madness. First of all, the first question they're going to ask is why. Like, why? What's wrong with people don't like change. People don't like drastic changes to their everyday life, especially for no obvious reason. So in that note, yeah, we can agree on that. If they were to come out today and said, look, everyone's got to have this mark of the beast, the first question people are going to ask is why? Okay, and there's going to be all kind of craziness. Now, what you got to understand is the mark of the beast is going to come at a time when they institute great crisis. They're not just going to come out one day, it's a nice sunny day, everything's fine, everything's going, just normal, so to speak, and just say, yeah, you got to get chipped. They're not going to do that. There's going to be crisis. There's going to be economic upheaval. There's going to be civil unrest. There's going to be a breakdown in the global logistics. Okay? There's going to be a great want. There's going to be pressure. And as the old saying says, desperate times call for desperate measures. The people are going to be desperate. Whereas people who today would probably, I ain't taking no chip. But when you're hungry, when you're fearful for your security, when your life is in jeopardy, when you're not sure of your next meal, what would you do to get that security? What would you do to get that next meal? Would you receive a chip? Well, the answer is the majority of people, even the majority of people that say they wouldn't take a chip, will. When the pressure is on. Because it's easy to say something when you got a full stomach, when everything is going forward as planned. But when there's a crisis, when there's a upheaval in your life, then we'll see if you stand by what you say. Okay? And that's why the scriptures speak about it as the hour of temptation. That's when you're going to be tempted to follow the ways of the flesh. Now, I want to go back to Egypt. Now, if you understand Egypt, right? You had a pharaoh in Egypt, but Mizraim was made up of various different tribes. And there was a time when the pharaoh didn't have absolute power in Egypt. The people were more free, so to speak. And then an event happened that basically made Pharaoh an absolute power. And the people didn't give up their freedom, so to speak, to Pharaoh just because overnight they woke up one day and said, you know what, we're gonna give Pharaoh everything we have and we're gonna give him the ultimate power. A crisis occurred that put them in a desperate position, and desperate times called for desperate measures. And I'm going to read it. And people haven't changed. The psychology of people haven't changed. You can get people to do something they wouldn't normally do very easily in a crisis. Okay? So this is Genesis. We're going to get Genesis 47 and 13. Let me see if there's any comment. Yeah, Shalom, Arkham. Shalom, okay. Let's get Genesis 47 and 18, okay. 13, Salakia. And there was no bread in all the land, okay. Because if you know the history, the Lord sent a great dearth over the known world at that time. Okay. There was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. So we got to understand that Egypt, the land of Canaan, these places were famished. There was a lack of food, a lack of bread. Okay? But Egypt was prepared for that dearth through Joseph. Okay, and you can read that history. Joseph who had the dream, and well, the Pharaoh had the dream, and Joseph broke the dream down that you would have 7 years of good harvest, and then you had 7 years of famine. So during the time of the good harvest, they prepared by storing the grain. Okay, and Joseph, through the spirit and power and the wisdom of the Heavenly Father, he devised ways in order to store the grain. You know, and Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, because these people were famished. They didn't have any food stored, so obviously they had to take what money they had, silver, gold, okay, and go to Egypt, who had an abundance of food because they stored the food, to buy the food. And they had to buy it at the price that the Egyptians set. Supply and demand. They had the demand, Egypt had the supply. For the corn which they bought, and Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. So Pharaoh became rich. The Pharaoh became very rich. Them and the ancient pharaohs, man, at that time they were very rich. And when money failed in the land of Egypt, meaning they bought, and there came a point where they ain't got no more money to spend. And in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, "Give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence, for the money faileth?" And Joseph said, "Give your cattle." So they had cattle. They had assets which they had, which was cattle. Joseph said, "Give your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle if money fails." So instead of giving me silver and gold, rubies, diamonds, whatever, for this grain, guess what? I'll take your cattle for the grain. So obviously, they gave up their cattle because they were hungry. They needed food. Now, if they had killed and ate those cattle, it wouldn't have lasted long. Grain is because you gotta feed them cattle. When you got grain and you buy the grain, you can store the grain. You can eat it over a longer space of time. You don't have to worry about it going off. Okay. So Joseph said, give your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle if money fail. And they brought their cattle unto Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses, and for the flocks, and for the cattle of the herds, and for the asses, and he fed them with bread for all their cattle for that year. So in the space of that year, they basically gave up all their assets, man, because of desperation. They gave up everything they had, their horses, blah, 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 okay? And when that year was ended, they came unto him the second year and said unto him, "We will not hide it from my lord how that our money is spent. My lord also hath our herds of cattle. There is not aught left in the sight of my lord, but our bodies and our land." So the final, once they gave up all their assets, the final assets they had was their land, and then their bodies, okay, their human resources. It says, "Wherefore shall we die before thine eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread." So basically they were giving themselves over what? Unto Pharaoh. Now, would they have done this like, just woke up one morning, if everything was fine and they got a full belly and they had their grain, would they have just sold themselves to Pharaoh? No. It's just like you get certain women. So are they going to sell themselves? No. But then if they get put in a hard position and they got no other way to live, they'll sell themselves. That's why you got a lot of women prostituting on the streets, because they fell into a position where that was all they had. So they sold it. Okay. "Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh, and give us seed that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate." And Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. Okay, now Lord will, I'm going to go in the next video. I don't want to do it in this video. I'm going to go into the secular history and show you that even down to the time of Ptolemy, from this point in history onwards, down to the time of Ptolemy, Egypt was run where no actual individual Egyptian owned any land. The Pharaoh and the priesthood owned all the land of Egypt, which is pretty much the same system which has been set up today in America and worldwide by the elites. No individual actually owns land. The land is owned by the state. The state holds
what's known as the alloidial title. Okay, if you call yourself owning a piece of land, the reason you're paying tax on that land is because you don't have the alloidial title to that land. The state does. So whoever owns the state really owns that land. And that's how the elite really control everything. And that's a system which goes back to Egypt, where the pharaoh owned everything. And you had to pay the pharaoh a tax based upon what? Your production on his land. And that system was incorporated by Ptolemy when he took over Egypt and started calling himself a pharaoh. So that proves the scriptures. That whole system was established during the time of Joseph. Okay? Which, you know what? We don't need nothing else to prove it. The scriptures prove themselves because it's the holy scriptures. But, hey, that just shows you, even in secular history, it backs up what the scripture's saying, okay? And Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. So if you want to know what you got all these Egyptologists, they want to talk about Egypt. Well, you're living in Egypt. You're living under the same system that Egypt lived under right now. So you should be happy. Now, the system of Israel is a system of private land ownership by all the tribes and the clans and the kinsmen. We didn't have a system where the king of Israel owned all the land. But Egypt did. So you Egyptologists, niggas, you should be happy in America, because that's the American way. The American way is the Egyptian way. Alright? For the Egyptians sold every man his field because the famine prevailed over them, so the land became Pharaoh's. And as for the people, he removed them to cities from one end of the borders of Egypt even to the other end thereof. So now he had power over the people to tell them where to go, where to live, what to do, because they sold themselves unto the Pharaoh. And that's how the Pharaoh became an ultimate power, a godlike power in Egypt through this famine. Only the land of the priests bought he not. And that's why I said you had the priest class. The priest class, and it's a documented fact, the priest class in Egypt, they still had power with the Pharaoh. Only the land of the priests bought he not, for the priests had a portion assigned them of Pharaoh, and did eat their portion with Pharaoh, which Pharaoh gave them, wherefore they sold not their lands. Alright? Then Joseph said unto the people, behold, I have bought you this day, and your land for Pharaoh. Lo, here is seed for you, and ye shall sow the land. And it came to pass in the increase that ye shall give the 5th part unto Pharaoh, like an income tax, and 4 parts shall be your own, for the seed of the field, and for your food, and for them of your household, and for the food of your little ones. So they had to pay a 20% income tax, because the land that they were working really belonged to Pharaoh. You understand? And they said, thou hast saved our lives. Let us find grace in the sight of my Lord, and we will be Pharaoh's servants. Now, do you think them people would have accepted a 20% tax if all of this crisis wasn't happening? Hell no. The crisis was necessary for them to accept this change. The same thing is going to apply with the mark of the beast. There's going to be crisis. There's going to be a time of tribulation. Let's get that in the book of Daniel, as there has never been since any nation. And in that crisis, they're going to come with the chip, and you're going to get people crawling over people to get that chip. For what? For the ability to receive what? Food, security, water from the state, from Pharaoh. And they're going to be willing to give up everything because they want to live. And they see, they think that life is going to be in the state. Whereas the elect are going to deem life to be in Yahweh Shai and life everlasting. The 2/3 of our people, their thing is the flesh. Their God is their belly. So they're going to serve the flesh. They're going to seek to the flesh, which is encompassed in the state, in Esau, in his power structure, in FEMA. Yo, where FEMA at? Well, you want some of them FEMA goods? You're going to have to take this chip. Oh, yes, sirree. Yes, sirree. Whatever you say, I just want to get some of that bread right there. I want to get some of them there rations. Daniel's 12:1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth. Because people ain't going to be taking the chip to get no damn Jordans, man. It ain't gonna be that time. In that time, people really ain't gonna be caring about Jordans. What the scriptures say, man, the majority of people that die, they're gonna die by famine, man. That's in the book of 2nd Ezra. Look, man, people are gonna be desperate. Great desperation comes with famine, man. If you want to see people desperate, give them a hungry stomach. Give them an empty stomach, and don't let them know where their next meal is going to be coming from. When your next meal is in doubt, you're going to see some real desperation. You're going to see some real cutthroatism. That's what's going to happen. A lot of you people think it's a joke, man. Listen, man, there's going to come a time when your next meal is going to be in doubt, man. Ain't going to be like how it is now, where you could just roll up to McDonald's and you could roll down any shop down the street and it's going to be open. Most of these shops are going to be closed, man. Ransacked, looted. The government, any large food store, before the people get in there, people are going to be stealing it. Then what? The government going to come with the troops. They're going to take that. When you go to the... Look, man, just go to the FEMA executive orders. In a time of crisis, the first thing the government is going to do is take hold of all the resources they possibly can. Okay, this is facts, man. Whether you're talking about America, whether you're talking about England, whether you're talking about France, they all have legislation that in the time of an emergency, they are going to take control of the entire infrastructure, whether it be private or public, and they're going to take control of all resources, petrol, all these different things. They're going to the state is going to take control of that with its military force. And they're going to control who gets it and who don't through that chip. Let's look at some FEMA executive orders real quick. Seizure of all communications media in the United States. Seizure of all electric power, fuels, and minerals, public and private. This is what they're going to do in the time of a crisis. And if you want these goods and services, you're going to have to play their game. Or you could take the chance to fight them for it. Seizure of... Oh man, let's get rid of this. This is in the way. I hate this thing. Seizure of all means of transportation, including personal cars, trucks, or vehicles of any kind, and total control of highways, seaports, and waterways. Seizure of all American people for workforces, like Pharaoh did, under federal supervision, including the splitting of families if the government finds it necessary. Seizure of health, education, and welfare facilities, which in that day, everyone's going to be on welfare, man. You got to understand, the entire system is going to come to a grinding halt. You are not going to be going to work. If there's a complete economic collapse, you are not going to be going to work. The only people that are going to be working is the people that work for government. Look at any disaster film that you see. Do you see anyone going to work? The only people that are working is people that work for the government. The soldiers, the certain nurses, the police. You understand? You gotta understand, man, the chaos that's coming, man. Seizure of all health, education, and welfare facilities, public and private. They're gonna confiscate even the private infrastructure, right? Walmart facilities, all these things. Empowered the blah blah blah, the Postmaster General to register all men, women, and children, because in order to restore order, they're gonna have to register the people. Seizure of all airports and aircraft. Okay, that's going to be private, public, whatever. Seizure of all housing, blah, blah, blah. Now, there's supposed to be one. This ain't a full list. This ain't a full list of the FEMA executive orders. There's one executive order. Give me a second. Because there's more than that. There's one for the confiscation of resources and food. Let's see if I can get... there we go. See if I can get that particular executive order up for you. There used to be a list that had all the executive orders. Get the hell out of here. Ah, flips. Come on, man. Yeah, a lot of these people that's buying up large amounts of food with their credit cards and all that, man. If their resource of food is large enough, the soldiers are gonna come and take that. They're gonna come for it. Let's get straight to the point. There we go. So this is under the section Priorities and Allocations. The Secretary of Agriculture with respect to food resource facilities, livestock resources, veterinary resources, plant health resources, and domestic distribution of farm equipment and commercial fertilizer. Okay. So these basically under emergency, the energy suppliers or what, under an emergency, if you go through it, they're gonna have the power to seize all the food. Okay, take control of Walmart and all that infrastructure. Let's see if I can get any more. Alright, food resources means all commodities and products, simple, mixed, and compound, or complements to such commodities or products that are capable of being ingested by either human beings or animals, irrespective of other uses to which such commodities or products may be put, or at all stages of process from the raw commodity to the products thereof in vendable form for human or animal consumption. Alright, so food resources, food resource facilities, all these things are going to be taken by the government, whether they're public or private. Alright. So that's the power that the government is going to have under the National Defense Resources Preparedness. Okay. Let's jump back, see if there's any comments. Okay, man, we got loads of comments here, boy. Alright, let me read through this before I carry on. GMS Feed the Flock went into this very topic this past Saturday. Hey, man, hey, Khan. Wait, I went into it last night in Vegas. See, that's the spirit, because the spirit wants this edification to come out, man. GMS Feed the Flock, Isaiah 30:1. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. And it's going to be a sin to take basically taking the mark of the beast is straight up idolatry. All right, because you putting your faith and your trust in the government before Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, and you being disobedient because the Lord specifically told you not to do that. So it's idolatry, it's pride, it's rebellion, okay, which is as the sin of witchcraft. Okay, Isaiah 13:2, that walk to go down into Egypt and have not asked at my mouth to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. That's where order abkeo comes from. People look for help and solutions when they are in a state of panic. Exactly, brother. Spot on. Isaiah 36:6, lo, thou trustest in the staff of this broken reed on Egypt, whereon if a man lean, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all that trust in him. Yeah, where FEMA at? When everything goes down, these people, they call into the government, man. You know? All right. Luke 23:31, for if they do these things in a green tree, what shall be done in the dry? Woo! Hey, brother. Fire. Straight fire, fam. Yeah. Okay. As maybe we would say, yeah. All right. GMS Feed the Flock. Just look how MFS, okay, act on Black Friday. That's when things are in abundance. equals green tree. Imagine how they're gonna act when it is that last loaf of bread equals drive tree. Hey, eaten by measure, ration. They're gonna eat by measure. The scriptures speak about that. That happened before in Israel when they had to eat by measure. You know, right now the so-called black woman, man, when she cooking, man, she free-handing that shit. You know, she be cooking up like to the point where that's how Jake is, man. The so-called black woman, the so-called Hispanic woman, to the most part, even if they're living in some third-ass world country, you can always have family turn up and get a plate. You know, that's how they're known for cooking a lot, overcooking. Hey, when there's famine, you don't overcook. You be measuring them portions out exactly. Shit about to get real out here. Water's still running and people already losing it. Okay. Salakia Shalom. Agenda 21. Esau plans out well in advance. Yeah, the New World Order is all about the complete control of all resources. And in order to control all resources must be quantified and identified. That's why you have something called the Internet of Things. And the people is also a resource. And how they use these resources is all New World Order agenda. A giant rationing system. A giant system of rationing. You get what you're given. You get the goods and services that you're given according to your allocation. Anyway, that's it on the comment board. Let's jump back. Daniel's 12:1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. All right, because the elect are not going to fall victim, man, to the flesh. All right, point blank period. They're going to stay spiritual and trust in the living power even unto death. They can trust that even in death. The scripture says the righteous have hope in their death. So even if we got to die, we're going to still hope that, hey, there's a reward even after death. How about that? And that's hella spiritual right there. Okay. So, I mean, I think that's the point on that. So, Nate making it, let's go back to the statement Nate made, man. That shows you Nate ain't on no level. Okay, Nate doesn't understand what's going on. That's why I believe they made a statement. These guys are talking about martial law and food crisis. If we even thought something like that was going to happen, we'd have a plan of action. Man, our plan of action is Yahweh, man. What the hell are you talking about? So that means that Nate and them don't really see Daniel's 12:1 coming to pass, man. These guys don't really see 2 Ezra the 15th chapter coming to pass. You know, they don't see it, man. They believe in this man's system and his infrastructure, man. Okay, these niggas have been living in America too long where everything runs smooth, even in the ghetto. Things are really moving smooth. Okay? You don't understand crisis, man. Because you live in the first world, so to speak, where the infrastructure is keeps going. All right, there's places in the world where people understand crisis, people understand famine. Okay, you niggas don't understand that. That's why to you you never experienced it. To you it's not a possibility. But there's gonna be famine in America. I gotta do my Kurt Angle. Oh, it's true. All right, it's prophesied. All right, there's gonna be famine in Egypt. The Lord's gonna break that staff of bread. Oh, it's true. Okay, so nothing else on the comment board. I just wanted to bring that out real quick anyway. Okay, Psalms 59:14 and 21st. Evening, let them return and let them know a noise like a dog and go round about the city. Verse 15, let them wander up and down for meat and grudge if they be not satisfied. And that's the time we're coming to, man. So I wanted to just bring that out real quick. I just want to end the live stream here. I'm probably going to do another live stream because I really want to go into this information regarding Egypt, and I want to touch on something regarding Cleopatra too. So I'm gonna close down this live stream. Look, the mark of the beast is the implantable microchip. They're building the infrastructure. They're easing it into the minds of the people, making it seem like something which is feasible. Okay, but ultimately the way they're gonna mandate it, because right now it's not mandated. It's not mandated anywhere to have that chip, but the time is going to come when it is going to be mandated. You know, for security reasons, for food, for everything. Okay? That's going to be the solution to the crisis. All right? And they're going to put it to the people, and the people are going, yeah, whatever. Whatever you got to do to restore order, we're going to run with that. Okay? And it's nothing new. That psychology has repeated itself over and over and over. Like I said, the whole reason you got to have a passport goes back to World War I and World War II. And when they initially brought the passport in and having to provide ID on request, the people didn't want to do it, but because it was a war, they accepted it under the grounds that after the war, they wouldn't need it anymore. But guess what? They still have passports, right? Because order ab chaos. Once having a passport was established, that was it. And it's the same thing with the mark of the beast. Once it's established, okay. All right, so with that, I'm going to say shalom.